Hello friends! Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. As you see by today's title, I have a brand new spring DIY that is Alice in Wonderland themed, and I'm super excited to share it with you. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. Hello, my name is Justina, and here I like to make, create, and inspire fun art things with you through my DIYs. And lately I have been on an Alice in Wonderland kick for this spring DIYs for you. So if you are new here, I hope you stick around by clicking on that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for being here and clicking on today's video. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here. I am super excited to share this DIY with you, but don't forget to do all the YouTube-y things down below, which is like, comment, and share to at least one friend. It really does help out my channel. Now, there is a lot to get through this DIY, so with all that being said, let's just jump right into it and let's art today. Now for today's DIY, I used two poster boards that I already purchased from Dollar Tree a while back and I had on hand, but you're probably going to need at least 3 if you're going to make the whole thing out of poster board. I, however, do not. Now, as you see here, I have a pen and I'm sketching on my poster board, making this little U shape on the top, because today we're going to make the little door that lets Alice into Wonderland. I am super excited because it came out so awesome. Now remember, you do not have to use poster board. You can use cardboard and or wood if you want to create the same exact thing but make it a little bit sturdier, which I personally will recreate this DIY later on using real wood so that I could put it in my own personal garden, which I'm super excited for. But now that I have my upside down U-shaped all traced out, as you see here, I just took an X-Acto knife and I'm cutting out that U-shape using it. I do have to go over it a couple of times to make sure that I go all the way through, and then I am going to use that piece that we cut off later on, so I'm just placing that to the side. We are now left with our door shape, and I wanted to give my door a wooden look, so I found this piece of foam in my crafting stash that was the perfect size for my wooden planked door. And as you see here, I'm just using my pen to trace out those lines on either side. I did start in the middle just so that our door looks nice and neat and even as much as possible, but remember, you don't always have to start that way. You can even go the opposite direction horizontally, and if you have a ruler, you can do this exact outline as I'm doing here. For added detail, I'm taking my X-Acto knife tool without the blade and I'm pushing it into the foam board. This will give your foam board a wooden grain texture, which is absolutely beautiful, but you don't necessarily have to do this step if you don't want to. You can always just add paint on top to make it look as if it was ingrained. However, I like the added depthness that it gives my door, so I continue to do it on all of my wooden panels. As you see here, I'm adding my folk art home decor chalk paint in the color Java into the little details that I just added so that it can be the darkest point of my door. Then I'm going in with various colors, as in light brown, some vintage yellow, and I'm blending everything in together to really give our door a wooden look. Now, a technique that I like to use while making stuff look like a different texture is to keep my paintbrush dirty, meaning that once I dip it into a color, say as in brown, and then I dip it into the vintage yellow, I keep it dirty. I don't rinse off my brush. That way, when I blend it together, it blends in naturally. Now, as I finish the first panel, I am moving on to the next panels, and I will keep doing that same technique. I also dip my paintbrush in water at various times and spread out the paint easily that way also. Now, this is poster board, so if you do paint on top of poster board, it will tend to warp, But if you just wait for it to dry completely and then lay something heavy so that it remains flat, it will look like this, and I absolutely love it. Now I did have to give it a couple coats, and I also painted the back of it as you see here. But on the other side, I did not make wooden panels. I just painted it. Now it's time to make the door knob for this door, and I just have a scrap piece of foam. Once again, you can always use a foam board if you need to. And I'm going to use a Christmas ornament as the door knob. Now, for the type of doorknob that I am going to try to recreate is the one from the Disney cartoon version, which is super adorable. So I have another scrap piece of foam, and I'm tracing out the top portion of the door knob from the Disney movie. This does take some practice, and I did have to use a reference on my computer to try to get the right shape. But once again, I am just using a pen to trace out the image that I want on it. But remember just to have fun with it. You can create whatever type of door handle that you like. I just really wanted to recreate the one from the cartoon. After I have my image down, I did want to also cut a little piece off of this square piece of foam that I have, because in the cartoon version he has a rounded bottom shape, so I just added that to the side. Now to cut my foam, I am just using my wood burning tool, but you can also use an X-Acto knife if you do not have one or feel safer using that instead. Now I am taking my time, making sure to go really slowly. I did speed this up so this isn't real time, but I'm making sure to go over the lines that I have created with my pen. And once again, if you're going to use this wood burning tool, make sure you take all the safety precautions as necessary. I do have my window open, and I'm making sure to go really slow. After I have that portion cut off, I am moving on to the next one, and I'm just doing the exact same thing, following the lines, getting as closely as I can without going over, and keeping the shape as close to the original image. Once I was done cutting off that piece, I wanted the pieces to look like they were fused together, so I'm taking my pen again, tracing out that little M shape at the top. Then I will take the wood burning tool and cut that out as well. All I needed to do was attach those two pieces together, and to do so I'm just using my hot glue gun on the low setting. Next, I needed to know where exactly the door knob was going to go on, so then I started pushing my little ornament into the foam, making a little pre-hole right there, removing the excess. That way I can put in the ornament's little hook inside of that hole, hot glue it down into place, and then I have a working knob. All you need to do is push the ornament back in, and this knob twists back and forth, and I just think it's the cutest thing. It's time to start painting all of our pieces. I did take the doorknob off, that way I can paint it separately, but I'm first going in with some black acrylic paint, and I'm going to paint the whole thing in its entirety except for the back of it, because you won't be able to see that later on. I do give this about 2 coats of black acrylic paint, and then I do the same exact thing for the doorknob. That's because I want to paint the doorknob a gold color like the cartoon, so when I first paint it black, the gold shows up even more vibrant. So once the black had time to completely dry, I then started adding the gold paint right on top. Now at first I could not find my acrylic paint for gold. I think I ran out. I used it for a different project, but I did have this pouring paint from Dollar Tree, which is really thin, so I had to add like a million coats. However, it did do its job, and it completely coated everything in that luscious gold color that I was looking for. And the last thing I needed to add was the keyhole onto the doorknob. That way we can enter Wonderland, and I'm just painting that using black acrylic paint. Now it's time to assemble the door together, and the first thing I wanted to add was of course our doorknob that we just made, and I absolutely love it. It did take a million coats to get it this way, but I still love how you could kind of see some of that black showing through. It really looks aged and vintage. Now I didn't do the smiley face on the door, that way I wanted mine to be more realistic, but you can always add a face to yours. Now as you see here, I took some duct duct tape and I am cutting it down to size and adding it on the back of my doorknob. That's because my doorknob is made out of foam, and once I add the hot glue to attach it, I don't want it to burn through, so I'm creating a barrier in between. That way when I add the hot glue right on top of it, it will stick to the door and it won't burn the foam all the way through. So I will then add a generous amount of hot glue to the back of it because I really want this to attach down, and then I am just going to hold it down firmly until everything is adhered together. So I did forget to film this, but I did paint 2 popsicle sticks in the same gold color. Not all the way though. That way it can look like the golden hinges that are on the opposite side of the door. Now I want my Alice in Wonderland door to actually open and close, and to do so I am going to use ribbon to act as my hinge, but I'm going to hide it underneath my popsicle stick. So I cut down a piece of ribbon down to size, attached it using some hot glue, and as you see here, I'm trying to see how much of that popsicle stick I need to cut off. Then I'm going to take my shears and cut it down to size. Now you can always just break it because they're really thin, but I wanted a nice clean edge, so I'm just using my shears. After I cut it down to size, I then am going to hot glue that popsicle stick right on top of my ribbon, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other side. Also painted some push pins in the same gold as I did with the doorknob, and I'm just taking the Sharpie and adding a straight line. That way we can add it into the doorknob so it looks like some screws are inside of the doorknob. I always think the more details you have, the more realistic things will look, and I absolutely love it. Now that that is pushed in, I did want to add a little bit more detail to my door, and I am going to add some moss everywhere. I am adding a nice dollop of hot glue, putting moss on top of it, and then pushing down firmly, and then I will cut away any excess moss that I don't want. Now, like I mentioned, I want my door to open and close, but it needs a frame. So with that piece that we cut off at the very beginning, and with some help of extra foam pieces, I'm going to make that frame. I'm first going to start painting the whole thing in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Castle, and then I will add some Java to it just to make it look a little bit dingy and dirty and almost aged. That way when I add the more detail on top of it, everything will come together. Now at first I thought I was just going to paint it a solid gray brown color, but then I realized I wanted it to have like a cobblestone around it. So then I'm taking my paintbrush, dipping it into both the gray and the brown, and making these little circles in all different sizes and different shapes just to make it more realistic. Then I will add more of that Java brown into the creases so that it looks like mud that is holding up the cobblestone. Remember, you don't have to do this. You can always use some contact paper that Dollar Tree has. I believe they have some that looks like bricks that you can use, but I really just love painting, so I'm going to paint on everything. Next, as you see here, I have 2 more of those foam pieces, and I want them to look as if they were uniform, so I did have to match it up, and then I will continue painting the same technique that I did on the first poster board onto the foam pieces. Then I will place everything to the side to completely dry. You will have 3 pieces that look like this, but they will match up in the end. As you see here, I did place them side by side so you see that they will connect. Now to attach them to each other, once again I am using some duct tape on the back of the pieces. That's because the foam board is thinner than the foam pieces that I have for the side. So I am first going to add the duct tape all on the back side of it, making sure that it is as close as to each other as possible. Then I'm going to flip it over, and in that crease you will see I have some space that I can add a little bit of hot glue. Once again, my hot glue is on the low setting. That way it can melt into each other and it really won't damage the foam. Now it's time to attach the door to the door frame. We are almost there, and to do so, all I am doing is hot gluing that ribbon right onto our door frame. I did need a little bit of help having someone hold the door while I hot glue it down into place, but you want to make sure that ribbon is nice and taut, and then you press down firmly. Now to hide that ribbon, I am just going to use more of that moss and spread it all over my door frame so that everything blends in nicely together. Then it is now time to set that to the side because we're actually going to make a little painting, so when we open the door we are in Wonderland. Now to create our Wonderland, I am going to paint mine on some poster board that I just had on hand from Dollar Tree. Now you don't always have to paint yours if you do not want to. You can always download a picture and print it on, or you can even use some scrapbooking paper and make a collage. The possibilities are pretty much endless. Like I mentioned before, I like to paint, so I am going to paint mine on. So before I start painting, I am doing a really rough sketch with a pen onto the poster board. This will just give me an idea of what my vision in my head is going to look like on top of the poster board, but it's not going to be exactly what I sketch on, but it gives me a rough idea. After I have my sketch where I like it, the next thing I need to do is just to paint it on. Now I'm just using my folk art basic acrylic paints for this, but you can use whatever type of paint that you feel comfortable with, and I did have to do multiple coats. Now friends, if you have made it this far into the video, thank you so much. You guys are totally awesome. But if you can leave me a flower emoji in my comments so I know you made it this far, that would be really appreciated. Also, if you are new friends and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can notify you every time I upload a new video. Plus, we would love to have you here, part of our virtual art family. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you can help me out though by doing all of the YouTubey things down below, like, comment, and also share it to at least one friend, it really does help out my channel. Remember friends, I also have other socials. I have a Facebook and an Instagram page where I like to show off my pictures of the DIYs that I have created. If you would like to follow me over there, that would be deeply appreciated as well. And if you have created any of the DIYs that I have created, I would love for you to share them on those pages. Also, just another way for us to connect. Also, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee page if you would like to help support my channel. All of those links will be down in the description box below. Now I am just going to continue painting on my painting. As you see here, I am using a Posca paint marker to make all of those checkered patterns, and I'm just outlining the square and filling it in. Now with some little bit of editing magic, these are all gonna fill in by themselves. Now, I won't show every single thing that I paint on, but you'll get the gist of it. Since this is Wonderland, I really wanted it to be vibrant and bright and with a bunch of flowers everywhere because, as we both know, if you watch the movie or have read the books, it is luscious and full with all sorts of flowers and greenery. So I'm just using various colors to make flowers and the stems and the leaves and the grass, just to make sure it's nice and plentiful, so that when we are walking through Wonderland, it is so bright and vibrant and nobody would want to leave. At least I wouldn't want to. I will continue filling in everything and then place that to the side to completely dry, and then I will attach it to my door, and that completes this DIY. Here is how our door turned out. I absolutely love it. My family members love it too. It is so fun and I can't wait to decorate all around it. But I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. Now, it wouldn't be an Alice in Wonderland door if we cannot open it, so I'm going to turn the handle and open the door, and boom, we are presented with Wonderland, at least the little tip of it. I would like to think after following that little pathway, I will meet the Mad Hatter and have some tea and just have a good old time. Once again, I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. And once you are down there, friends, don't forget to leave me a flower emoji in the comment section to let me know that you watched the whole video in its entirety. That makes you the real VIPs of this channel, and I'm just so grateful for you. Don't forget to do all the YouTubey things, which is like this video, comment down below, and share it to at least one friend. It really does help out my channel. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did creating it. I really had a blast, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.